Okay, this is Muspra 385, 1.1 and 1.2. I'm Luke Smith, and I'm going to do a little talk, a little presentation about health and safety issues in music, in rehearsing and in live performance. And then I'm going to analyse and talk a little bit about my particular instrument and why I felt this suited me, what I liked about it, the different things that it's got that I feel suit me as a musician. Okay, so starting with health and safety, I think the most important thing, definitely one of the most important things, is your hearing for a musician. So you should always wear ear protection when rehearsing, and if you're playing long gigs as well, if your ears are going to be subjected to loud noises for a prolonged period of time, it's always going to be good to use protection for your ears. You can get all sorts of problems if you don't do that, damage to your ears. You can get something called tinnitus, which you can get even for brief periods of time. Having abnormally loud noises or sound going into the ear canal can damage your ears, and you get tinnitus, which produces just a constant ringing noise within the ear, so that's not going to be great if you're a musician. So ear protection is always a good idea. I'd say next to that is warming up both hands, your left hand, your right hand for picking. There's a few different things you can do. I normally run through a few scales or a few exercises just to warm this hand up. So I'll do, or I'll run through a few scales. Just to get this hand nice and loose. It's also a good idea to do some stretching. You can stretch the fingers, warm the hand up and the muscles in the hand, just so everything's loose. And you know, before you do anything too strenuous or fast, just make sure you build up to it. You know, don't start off trying to go too fast. Build yourself up to it. And the same with your picking hand as well. You want to, you know, just make sure everything's loose, and in your arm as well. You don't want anything to be tense, because then you can start damaging muscles, especially if you're repeating it, you know, all the time. If you are doing stuff like that, you can get something called tennis elbow, which is going to be caused by that repetitive movement. If you're picking wrong, if you're not using the right technique and everything's stiffened up in your arm and you're doing this, that's going to cause your muscles and your elbow to be really sore, and it can actually be quite detrimental to your playing. It could stop you playing. There's other things, carpal tunnel syndrome, which again you could get in this hand. It's caused when the nerve in the wrist gets squashed for prolonged periods of time, and that can cause numbness in your hand, loss of movement. So again, yeah, and it can require surgery. So that's really important if you're a guitarist or a musician of any kind, that you're using the right technique and that everything's loose in your picking hand. Otherwise that can be really detrimental. There's also repetitive strain injury, you know, so you just want to make sure everything's loose, everything's warmed up. As well as that, I think other areas of health and safety is liquids, drinks. If you're playing a gig, don't keep drinks on top of amps. And if you are going to have drinks, have bottles of water. I've done a few gigs where people have had pints of water on the stage and it's got knocked over and everything's got soaked, leads in water, and also you could slip and hurt yourself. So, you know, it's best to have bottles and keep them away from the equipment. Your strings as well, you want to make sure all your strings are snipped off, so you haven't got sharp bits poking out, not just for yourself but other people that you might be playing around. It's a good idea to have your lead. If you're performing and you're wearing a strap, I always tuck my lead underneath the strap so it's not going to pull out. If you're performing and you step on the lead, it can easily come out, and that's going to ruin your playing and also could be dangerous. I think that's about it. Oh, you can also, it's a good idea to get all your equipment pack tested, you know, just to be safe, so there's no problems with electrics. And I think that's about it for health and safety. I'm going to talk a bit about my instrument, which is a Fender Telecaster Deluxe. It's quite a new model, and I chose it mainly based on the playability and the sound. I found that it produced a really full sound, because I wasn't really a fan of the Telecasters at all until I picked one up and played one, and then I started to like the way they looked as well. I think the way they look really fits in with the kind of bands I'm playing in and who I am as a musician, who my influences are. John Frusciante, Jimi Hendrix, you know, they all used Fenders, Telecasters. But yeah, the main thing was when I picked it up and played it, it just felt right. It had a really full sound. It can be used, I think they're really versatile. You can use them for blues, funk, rock, jazz, most kinds of music. I find are really good to be played on these, probably with the exception of metal, which, you know, it doesn't really work too well for that. It's quite a new model, like I said, and it's got these new pickups on it, noiseless pickups. It's got two pickups. It's got your top one, your bottom one. The model before this had three. This has just got the two, and you've got your three-way switch. So your top, at the top, you're on your top pickup. In the middle, you've got both, and at the bottom, you're on your bottom pickup. I use the middle mainly for strumming, you know, rhythm, and the top and the bottom for soloing. Yeah, and the pickup, this new kind of pickup, it's called a noiseless pickup, and it doesn't, if all the volume's on, it's made to pick up less feedback. So I thought that was quite cool. You've got your tone here, tone knob, and your volume. And it's got an extra layer of gloss on it so it doesn't get damaged as easy, so you don't get as many dents in it. And yeah, I thought overall it just fitted me as a musician. It fits the kind of music I play and the image as well, but mainly it was playability and the sound produced. And that's it. Thank you.